Hey there, welcome back to a mini episode of Be the Good with Kate. Before we dive in, I encourage you to subscribe and share. It helps me so much in bringing more good news your way. Thanks for being here along the way. We're going to hear a quick message from our sponsor, Anchor, and then we'll get into this mini episode. The goodness of perception and perspective. Two words have continually come to mind these past 2 years especially. Dare I say I've been obsessed with them a bit. Perception and perspective. Our friend Oxford Dictionary states, perception, the state of being or process of becoming aware of something through the senses, and a way of regarding, understanding, or interpreting something, a mental impression. And perspective, a particular attitude toward or way of regarding something, a point of view. I first got pulled into thinking about these two terms while walking along the Hudson River one day early in the pandemic, when that was pretty much the only activity one could do outside the house, and listening to a podcast that brought up the perspective shift in working out in particularly. I have to work out today versus I get to work out today. Wow, what a shift! The one little word change and the whole feel of the task at hand changes. The whole attitude towards the challenge. Let's try some other sentences. I have to walk an extra 5 blocks to the store. I get to use my God-given legs and muscles. I get to breathe in the air. I get some time for my brain to take a break from work or to listen to my favorite podcast. Cough, cough. Or to chat with a friend on the phone while getting from point A to point B. I have to wait in this line. I get to wait in this line and therefore finally catch up on reading that article saved on my phone. I have to eat the fruit rather than the cake. I get to eat the fruit, nourishing my body, sending vitamins into my system, and knowing that I took that step toward a healthier me today. A close cousin of the idea of perspective is perception. Of all places for inspiration on this, my husband turned on The Nightmare Before Christmas recently, and perception came to mind immediately. As Jack, he truly, deeply believed he was giving people these wonderful gifts, whereas they were absolutely terrifying the children and, quote, ruining Christmas, as they say. Funny how this movie can give us such an example of perception. I mean, yes, the toys were scary as can be, but to him, they were a wonderful gift. Now, how can that apply to our own lives? Just a small example, but perhaps the person who, say, gives a nod rather than saying thank you out loud actually believes that that nod is a strong enough expression of thanks, even if we might think otherwise. Or something like, the person with a scowl on their face. Is she mad at me? Or is that just how she rests her face? Or is the short text message meant to mean he is frustrated? Or did he just not have time to give a lengthy answer? An example I also like to think about is the perception of who a person is simply by the outside look. Now, I'm guilty of jumping to categories or stereotyping. It happens, but I work to remind myself every time of all the people I've met in my life who go completely against the exterior they put out to the public. A specific person who comes to mind in this instance, and I hope he doesn't mind me calling him out, but hear me out, is a man named Billy, who I first met when I was about 12, as he is the dad of someone in the theater I was a part of growing up. On first impression, Billy looks like he walked in from a Harley-Davidson ad. A long beard, tattoos, motorcycle on a t-shirt, suspenders holding up his jeans, etc. Yet he also always has the biggest smile on his face. And in talking to him, you learn in about 3 seconds that he is the warmest, cheeriest, most fantastic man. Now, what are the stereotypes of, quote, that motorcycle look? Gruff? Serious? Cold? Even rough around the edges? Well, Billy is none of those things. I have always been so glad to know Billy, especially from a young age. Besides from the fact that he's such a great person to know, he has also made me so much more aware of jumping to assumptions or judging a book by its cover ever since. When we come into a situation with a perception based only on what we have encountered or assumed previously, we miss out on so many wonderful opportunities for interaction, for learning, for growth. Going back to a fitness example, The perception of working out being such a chore makes the actual workout seem so much harder than it usually is, as well as sets up a negative perspective surrounding it. But working out gives us strength. It lifts our mood. It gives us a break from work. It helps us live longer, healthier lives and takes us closer to our health goals. Now that's a different perspective than, ugh, I have to get to the gym, isn't it? Same task, totally different mindset. I also find it helpful to really hone in on gratitude. I get to do this workout, this walk, this trip, this fill in the blank, because I am blessed with a healthy body to accomplish this task. I have the ability to utilize my legs and arms, or I have the resources to pay for this plane ride or membership, or I have these few minutes to pause and help my mind and soul feel better. Okay, what's the elephant in the room right now? That these concepts can be so much easier said than done at times. I know. But being aware of this idea of shifting our mindset is such a powerful tool. Try to reframe some thoughts this week. Notice how it impacts your mood, attitude, and days. And if you're up for sharing, send me a message about it or a comment here. And thanks again for listening to Be the Good with Kate. Season 3 airs this November, and I can't wait. In the meantime, I would be thrilled if you subscribed and left a review on Apple Podcasts. And if you know someone who could use these thoughts today, send this episode their way.